Toilet Tower Defense. It is one of the most popular tower defense games on the platform. At the time that I'm recording this, it's averaging about 38,000, 40,000 players. That's probably on the low end because most of the children playing this game are asleep right now, but I'm sure midday they easily get 50k. On updates, they probably get into the 100,000s, but I decided that I might as well dedicate a video to doing an overview of Toilet Tower Defense, just giving my honest thoughts on the game since there's not much else to do. And from my experience, which was very, very brief, I only played this game for about 20 minutes. The only times that I even touched this game was just to get footage, and after that I am not going to touch this game ever again. Because I find this game really hard to play. And here's why. Normally when something is difficult for you, more often than not, it's because you're not good enough, right? If you find a game hard to play, it's probably because you're just not good at the game. Maybe you struggle with the puzzles, solving aspects of a game, the strategy, the reaction time. There's something about the game that makes it inherently difficult for you to progress, for you to continue playing and, you know, beat the game as you normally would. But in Toilet Tower Defense, the struggle doesn't come from how hard the game is. It comes from trying to stay awake as you're playing this game, because man oh man, Toilet Tower Defense might be one of the most boring, bland, unoriginal, and unfun experiences that I've ever experienced on this platform. And the reason I say that is for a couple of things, which I'll go into detail on each and every one of those in this video. And number one is the animations of this game. When you're playing a tower defense game, I'd argue that like 60 or 50% of the enjoyment that you even get from playing the game at all comes from the animations of the game. Let's look at literally any tower defense game. It doesn't even have to be an anime tower defense game. Look at Tower Defense Simulator. Or if you want an anime example, look at Anime Adventures, look at Anime Last Stand, look at Anime Defenders. All of these games, what do they have in common? They look good. Albeit some of them are, you know, heavier on the VFX department than others. Some of them have, you know, a higher image quality standard. How do I say it? Some of them have better visual aspects than others. But what remains consistent across all of them is that they're good to look at, right? That's a lot, but a good chunk of the reason that people even touch anime tower defense games or just tower defense games in general is because they like seeing the cool units do cool things. This principle applies to literally any game in that genre, because no one wants to play a game where your units are just still Roblox characters that occasionally move their hand every now and then, and that's how you deal damage. Because that just makes the game feel so soulless and boring, and you don't really develop any sort of enjoyment or connection with the game because you're just watching the bare minimum. And that's how I felt when I was playing this game. I was watching the bare minimum. Albeit I'm not using the 0.01% Titanic cameraman driller with fucking lasers coming out of his butthole. No. I'll admit that I'm not very far in this game, and maybe the graphics quality improves as the units improve. I couldn't tell you because I haven't gotten that far, and frankly I will never get that far because I don't think this game is a good investment of my time, nor do I think I would enjoy it. But from my experience, right, I used some of the common units and they're about as run-of-the-mill as you'd expect. No special effects, no VFX. This gameplay that you're watching right now, I don't have animations disabled or anything. This is just the game. On the topic of animations, I don't think animation applies just to the game itself, but I think it also applies to the enemies. Because look at these enemies that I'm fighting right now. First of all, they don't look very high effort. You know, it's just like a toilet. Maybe it was like a free asset toilet with a Roblox head on top of it. And then they added some little squiggly lines on the bottom to simulate the legs. and that's your enemy. You're fighting evil toilet guys, which, you know, the concept, I know why they did it, because they want to cash in on the trend. That is Skibidi Toilet. That is the entire point of the game. That's why the game is so popular. But, like, the units themselves are already not interesting. And on top of that, the enemy design is just non-existent. Because why am I fighting still images of toilets sliding across the field, sliding across the map? They don't even walk. They don't even have an animation. They just glide. Like, you could have at least gave them a cooler walking animation, maybe made them float a little bit or wobble from side to side. Because, you know, I've seen the Skibidi Toilet videos, and they don't just float. Well, they do fly, depending on the type of thing that we're talking about, but that's besides the point. I feel like there was a lot of lack of effort, at least in the visual aspects, but let's talk about other things that I don't like about the game, mainly being the monetization. This game, you know, it rivals Pet Simulator in terms of monetization, because as soon as you hop into the game, you don't even have like a screen where you can check where the areas are. You know, like when you hop in a tower defense game, it usually has a little teleport GUI that'll let you go to like summon, play, challenges, raids, stuff like that. This game doesn't have that. You're gonna have to walk around and look for that yourself. On top of that, you know what it does have on the GUI though? It does have a shop. And do you know what that shop has? It has literal units that you can just outright buy for Robux. You don't have to progress, you don't have to do anything. You could make a new account with absolutely zero experience on this game and just buy whatever strong 600 Robux unit they have for sale, and you're pretty much set for the entirety of early game. You're done. There's nothing else that you have to do, because the starter units that I got are absolute dog shit. Like, these guys are tickling the enemies. In this clip that you're gonna watch right now, I'm on easy mode. This is supposed to be like as beginner as it gets. This is the easiest game mode in the game, and this boss, like, you know, this boss was the hardest part of making this video, because I could barely kill him. You're gonna watch me have to sell and replace and sell and replace over 10 times, because I just don't have the DPS to deal with the quote-unquote easiest boss on the easiest difficulty. That's another thing that I don't feel like I enjoy about this game. The difficulty curve is a little bit steep, especially for a player that doesn't want to spend money on the game. You'd think that easy mode would be a free way to farm coins, so I could grind up to get some better units, but I have to fight tooth and nail on easy mode just so I can get my 50 coins, which isn't even enough for a summon, by the way. 50 coins is half a summon, so I need to do this twice to summon one unit. And 99% of the time that unit is going to be some ass too, because all the good units are locked behind ridiculously low percentages, like 0.1%, 0.1%. So I'm going to end up grinding, getting some dog shit unit that isn't going to carry me through higher levels of content, and then the cycle continues. The game is very, very tailor-made to make you spend money, because at every turn and at every obstacle that you face in this game, one thing remains true every single time, and that's if you throw money at it, it'll probably go away. That's really my biggest gripe with this game. I don't even mind the fact that it looks visually uninteresting, or that the enemies are literally look like free assets from the Roblox studio with some Roblox heads pasted onto them, or the fact that the game's entire premise is off a brain rot meme. I can excuse all of that, you know, I can look past that. But the fact that this game is just such a blatant, unapologetic cash grab feels almost like a slap in the face of the players that are active in this game. Because the people that play this game, I suppose there's a case that could be made where you can progress as a free-to-play player. You know, it's not impossible, and it's certainly something that I could do if I put the time to it, but the game just rewards monetization on such a high level that it feels like free-to-play players, they don't get the short end of the stick. They don't even get a stick, right? The only stick that they have is the one going up their ass, as they're forced to pay money to have anything remotely good in this game. And even if you pay money, there's no guarantee that you're gonna get what you want. Because the game not only has, a pay-to-win monetization system where you can just outright buy units, but if you want to get the good units, I'm talking about like the godly units or whatever rarity you want to call them, you're gonna have to gamble for those, whether you like it or not. Because all of those dudes are just locked behind a slot machine that is the summoning system, and a lot of people will say, well, you can't really judge an anime tower defense, or not anime, you can't really judge a tower defense game based on gambling because it's so deeply integrated into so many games in that genre. But for that I beg to differ, because look at a game like Tower Defense Simulator where you can earn a majority of the towers for free for doing nothing. You can just get them guaranteed, and they're good towers. They're endgame towers, things that you can use for harder content. Albeit, in most anime tower defense games, gambling is a pretty heavy aspect, but even those games, to a point, don't favor the pay-to-win player as much as this game does. Because from my personal experience in anime tower defense games, I don't even have to spend money to get where I want to be. Sure, it'll take me a little bit longer than if I were to just, drop $100 on the game and buy some currency so I could summon more units. Yeah, it would definitely be a lot faster if I did that, but it's not impossible. I'll use Anime Last Stand as an example. I am completely free to play in that game. I've never spent a dime, and I beat the entirety of story mode. I have some of the best units in the game. I have some of the best traits in the game, all as a free to play player, all without spending any money on the game, and it only took me like a week or 2 weeks at most. On Toilet Tower Defense, I feel like I could be playing this game religiously for a month, and I wouldn't even have scratched the surface of what someone that just paid money for the game, like, I wouldn't even be on their level. I would be nowhere near their level. And on top of that, besides the monetization system and the blatant gambling that it encourages to little vulnerable children that really don't know any better, so they'll probably end up gambling anyway and not getting what they want, so they'll do it again and again and again. It's a vicious cycle, but we've seen that one too many times on Roblox. There's really no way around that. I don't like the fact that this game is so successful. And here's the reason that I say that. When a game like Toilet Tower Defense is pulling in more players than a game that is objectively better made, it has objectively more work put into it. Again, I'll use ALS as an example. Like, let's compare Anime Last Stand to Toilet Tower Defense. Anyone that's played either of these games for even 10 minutes is going to be able to tell me which game has more work and effort and time put into it. Obviously, it's ALS, but, Anime Last Stand is struggling to even average 30k when this game does it effortlessly on, like, the low end of the spectrum, because these guys, I remember seeing them on the front page, and they were easily pulling in over 100,000 when they updated. Not even when they updated, on release they were pulling in numbers, crazy numbers like that. The reason that I don't like that this game is so popular is because when you prove to other developers that it's not only rewarding but extremely profitable to just make some soulless copy and pasted skibbity toilet game with extremely heavy monetization, you're showing the rest of the developers that that's what they should be doing. Because at the end of the day, they want to make money. But when the best way to make money is just to make these brain rot, boring, pay-to-win games, that hurts not only the Roblox community as a whole, but it hurts the player. Because now you're going to end up seeing a bunch of more copycat versions of this game solely because it's popular. And, a future where Toilet Tower Defense is the norm is not a future I want to live in. But anyways, I digress. That's going to wrap up my video on Toilet Tower Defense and why I personally just don't enjoy the game at all. But, with all that being said, this video was completely my opinion. Like what you want to like, whatever floats your boat. Who am I to judge what you play on Roblox? Because it's not like I'm on Roblox playing NASA Build a Rocket with Quantum Physics Simulator. I'm also playing anime gambling games or Battlegrounds games or you know, really like dumb, mind-numbing games, because that's personally what I enjoy. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that, and that's just how I am. So maybe you get a lot of enjoyment out of dropping your life savings and spending the mortgage on the house and your parents' retirement fund on toilet tower defense. I'm not going to judge you for that. I'll tell you my opinion. You know my opinion if you watch the video. But yeah, that's it from me. If you enjoyed the video, learn anything new, or just like to hear me talk about the game, feel free to like, sub, and comment. All that cool stuff. Have a great day or night wherever you are. Stay tuned for more content, and we will catch you in the next one.